All right, so we're going to look at a console menu. We want to create a menu which continues to run until the user decides to quit. So we saw this in the calculator problem. We're going to need it in our project. I think next quarter, most people might have to do a double layered menu. So one menu in each choice then generates another menu. And there's some logic needed to sort of how do you get back. But we're going to do a positivity menu. So at the very beginning, it'll say, welcome to the positivity menu. And they'll be given 4 choices. Enter a choice. C for compliment, M for motivation, H for help, and Q for quit. And then these are the statements that'll get printed. I mean, these could be anything. This could be tasks that get done or whatever, but we'll just print some statements that correspond to whatever choice the user makes. And then they'll be prompted to make another choice until they quit. Okay, so, and the hard part is the logic. So how do you continue to get another piece of input, and then how do you stop? So that's what we'll be working on. I'm going to jump over to Eclipse and just start a new Java class. We'll call it, put it in chapter 5. We'll call it either menu console or positivity menu. Let's call it a positivity menu. And I just want to put my comments in. Name, class, date, menu-driven console, console menu, user, driven console menu, that quits, that continues to I'm just doing this badly. Continues to run until user quits. It's not quite exactly right, but maybe we'll fix that later. Okay, so we have user input, so we're going to need a scanner. So I'll just import the java.utilities. Everything there. So back over here, we're going to have our welcome statement, and then we're going to display the menu, which is everything to the left of the arrows. So those will be happening in main. So the first thing will just be a welcome statement. So print statement here, print line. Welcome to the positivity menu. And so that's going to only print once. Maybe we'll print a new line character at the end of it to get 2 lines out of that. And then we'll display the menu. So that's a method that's going to display that menu. So public static void display menu. We could have a couple of print statements with some new line characters, but we'd rather just have this function sort of emulate what's being displayed, and that way the person who comes along and looks at it later can see without any commenting or anything exactly what's going on in display menu. So we'll just make a series of print statements, print line statements. And each line will have the first line. So we first need the statement that says enter your choice. Enter your choice. And then we need a series of print statements or print line statements. So I'm going to sys-o control space. So that C for complement needs to be tabbed in. So I'll \T for a tab, and then a capital C and a space complement. And then essentially that's the same line of code we want for the other choices. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it in 3, 4 choices. But the next one is not a complement, it's motivation. So \M, \T, and then M, motivation. And then \C, capital H for help. And then \T, Q to quit. And then we could test that and make sure it works. Or not only works, but looks how we want it to look. Welcome to the positivity menu. Enter your choice. Okay, so now this is where the sort of the logic of the program is going to come into play. If they enter the C, the M, or the H, we're going to want to print these statements accordingly and then display the menu again. But when they enter a Q, we want it to quit. So we need to first get that user input. So we're going to need to, let's come over here and sort of look at the logic of this for a second. We're going to need to, in main, so maybe I'll just scroll down here a little bit. In main, what's happening? We are displaying the menu. Then I need to get the input. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say get input. I won't know whether they want to continue or not until after I've gotten their input. And this is going to return some kind of value here. So I don't know what yet. But if you think about it, they're entering a letter. So let's get a character out here. And let's call it choice. I probably need to declare it. I guess I can probably declare it here because this one's only going to run once. This is going to prime our while loop. And then the while loop is going to run. It's going to say while, let's see, choice is a character, so that's a primitive. So I can say while choice does not equal quit, what do we want to do? Well, we want to do the appropriate action. So that's going to involve a series of if statements. If it's a C, do something else. If it's an M, do something else. Else. If it's an H, do something else. So now we know it's not a Q, but depending on how we use this get character, I'm gonna put one more else here. So if it's one of these choices, do what it says. We already know it's not a Q. If it's anything else, that's invalid input. So I'm just gonna say invalid input, and then so they'll do the appropriate action. If it's one of the choices, if it's Q, it won't run this loop at all. If it's C, M, or H, it'll do what it asks it to do. If it's not one of those, that's an invalid input. It'll ask it to tell it it's invalid. And then once they've done that within this loop, then we need to get another input. So we do choice equals get input again. And that's essentially the logic. And then after that guy runs, it means that our choice was Q. So we need to put the quit output. And that's sort of the logic of main, except, oh, before we get the input down here, probably going to need to display this menu again. There might be a print line statement as well to put an empty line in somewhere. Actually, I had a print line over here, an extra print line right there. I think I can take that out and put it in at the top of display menu. An empty print line statement. That'll always have a line before the menu starts. So that kind of keeps things how we want it. Okay. Let's go. So that we're going to main. Display menu, we need a character choice, and we need to write this function get input. Okay. So into main, character choice equals get input. And we'll come down below here. I guess we'll go down to the bottom. Public, static, it's type character. Input. No parameters. And let's just set up a return here of a character. So in single quotes, right now we'll just return the quit. Okay. So how does this function work? Well, we're going to need a scanner. So scanner console scanner system.in. In chapter 6, we're going to change that scanner to be able to read from a file or even a string. Scanners can read from anything or from many things, not just a system.in. Okay, so we're reading this in. What needs to happen here? So let's let, we want a character. So chances are they're not entering a character. So let's start off with a string. They might just enter the letter C, but they might enter the whole word complement. So string, let's call it temp. Let's have it equaling console.next. So that next is just going to read the next token. And then what we want is the character at 0. So we could return here temp.character at index 0. And then, but I could also put that, so that could be a lowercase c or a capital C, and I'd like to just have it be a capital C. So I'm going to go dot to uppercase. I think that will do it. Nope. Let's see what that error is. I think it's a syntax. Type character temp. So we're gonna, so to uppercase is a method of the string. So let's make this temp to uppercase first. That's going to capitalize the entire string, and then we'll return the character at 0 for that string. You know, you could put this all on one line, console.next.toUppercase.character at 0, but that's a little bit confusing, especially, you know, when you have too many dot methods, it's hard to tell whether you're doing a string method or a character method or what the method is. This is, the dot next is a method of the console, of the scanner, and then the dot to uppercase is a string method because console.next is a string, and then we're to uppercasing it. We could also do that in a separate step if we wanted to. We could say temp equals temp dot to uppercase. Here it's a little redundant because I've already done that above it. So let's take it out. I comment, take it out. You can see it both ways. Or let's just delete it. Yeah, let's leave it in there as a comment. It's fine. I'll leave that in there. I'll say could also work. So what this is doing is it's guaranteeing that in get input, it's always going to return the uppercase value of whatever character was entered. So that's a post condition. Returns the uppercase character, the first character in uppercase. The first character entered as in uppercase. I guess there could be a question is what if they don't enter a word? What if they enter like a number? And we'll test that in a few minutes. Okay, so meanwhile, back in main, character choice equals get input. Let's just print that choice. So you can kind of see that it's working. So let's run it. Welcome to the positivity menu. Enter your choice, C. I entered a lowercase c, it changed it to an uppercase C. Enter your choice, let's enter in hello. Should be an H. So if I enter in hello, it's going to assume I wanted help. Let's run it again. If I enter in my name, it's going to return the J. You know, what if I enter in a number like 4,560? Still, it's just going to return the 4. 4 to lowercase, 4 to uppercase is the same. Okay, so that's fine. And what's going to happen in our logic here is that if that's a C, we'll print the "you're doing great" compliment. If it's an M, we'll print the "keep up the good work" motivational statement. If it's an H, help is on the way. If it's anything else, it's going to be invalid because we would never have gotten into this loop unless they entered. We only get into this loop if it's not a Q. So anything else, it's going to say invalid. It's going to display the menu. We're going to get another choice regardless. And then it'll keep running this loop until they enter a Q. And then outside the loop, we'll run the quit output. So we've actually done the hard logic here. And the rest of the thing is easier. So remember, this choice that we're getting here is priming the loop. Now we're going to say while the choice, again, this is a character, so I can use the not equals to for primitives. Does not equal single quote with a Q. Then we have some if statements. If choice does equal a C, capital C, we're going to print "you're doing great" compliment. You're doing great. Okay, then after that if statement, we're going to say else if choice is an M, capital M. Another print statement. Keep up the good work. You know, and these statements are, you know, again, there could be a bunch of things happening inside each of these choices. So, you know, you could be making a choice for beverage, and then it gives you a menu of which beverages you want, and then it gives you a menu of which size do you want, and it gets you a number of hot or cold. So you could have this cascading menus. We're just having a single layered menu. Else if choice, and then, so there probably wouldn't be print statements here. There would be, you know, if you had more going on, you would have method calls inside these if statements. If it were true, then call the method for that menu. System.out.print, help is on the way. usually you got to ask for it. So if you're struggling and you need help, it's good to learn how to ask for that help. Okay, so two else ifs followed by an else. So anything else happens, what do we want to do? We want to say invalid input. Let's try again. It doesn't quit if they enter something bad in. It just tells them, oops, I need to put that in a print statement. It just tells them, you know, that's not going to work. Go again. Okay, so that, you got to be careful with your opening and closing braces. Notice you can always jog along here and see where they go. So that's takes care of all the choices. Now back over here in our while loop, that's those 4 things, and then we need to display the menu and get another choice. This is the part that kind of often gets forgotten in a while loop. What happens after you've done whatever you need to do? Well, in our case, we need to display the menu again. That's why I wanted that print line statement in the beginning of the display menu, so that after this was printed, there'd be an empty space before the menu displayed again. And then after we display that menu, we need to get another choice. And the way I set up get choice is I didn't make get input robust, but what I did was I made it return only 1 character and a capital character at that, and then that made the choices in the while loop align with the menu, and if it wasn't one of those choices, this line is actually making it robust. If it was anything else, it's gonna get a new choice. Okay, and then we get out of that while loop when they show us a queue, so we just need to say outside the while loop a print statement. Don't need to make it up because we have it over here. Quitting the program, goodbye. Quitting program. Okay, so I've asked us on most things to sort of, make commenting and commenting and a reflections journal. And in that reflections journal, we're supposed to include the testing. So I just want to sort of show you how I would do that for this set of things. We're going to test it anyways. I might as well make it testing that we can keep. So I'm going to open a notepad over here. Actually, I don't need to yet, but just so I have it to paste into. Okay, and then everything should be ready. Let's walk through main. We have a welcome to the positivity menu. We display the menu. We prime the loop by getting a get input. Get input down here. Takes the next string that they enter, converts it to uppercase, and then returns the character at 0. And then while that character is not a Q, if it's a C, print that. If it's an M, print that. If it's an H, print this. Otherwise, it's invalid. That ends the series of if statements. We're still in the while loop. Then we display the menu again, and we get another choice. Okay, we're going to run it. So for my testing, I might make my console a little bigger. Let's just try each of the choices. C, you're doing great. Enter your choice. Let's type in the word motivation. Keep up the good work. Notice the space in between them. Let's type in a little lowercase h. Help is on the way. Let's type in the. Invalid input. Please try again. 56. Invalid input. Please try again. Character. So this is one of the things that you could talk about. Oh, when you enter character, it thinks you want a complement because it starts with C. But that's usually the case when you're like doing a yes or no. anything that starts with Y will be considered yes, and anything that starts with N would be considered no. All right, so then the last thing to test would be the Q. Enter the Q, it says quitting. So I want to just show you, I mean, I can just copy this entire console. This is what I would put in my reflections journal. Copy, Control C, and then go to Notepad and paste it in. And there's my entire thing. And so I can, up at the top, I can say, you know, here are my reflections from the positivity menu. We made a robust program. So robust means it can handle different types of user input. Program for a menu-driven console. Console-driven menu, I don't know which one of those is right. Console, I think it's menu, I don't know, console, menu, console menu, how about that? Menu that continues until the user quits. This was hard, was the difficult part. Doing ... whatever. I learned ... Here's a sample of my testing. And then you've copied and pasted it in, and when I go to grade it, I can see, oh, you've checked the C, you've checked the M with the word motivation, you've checked lowercase h, you've checked invalid input, you've checked numbers, you've checked things that don't quite match, so you might put that in your reflection. Oh, this is what it does. Or we might go back and put it as a comment in our code and then quit at the bottom. Shut that down. So in our code here, we could say, choice is always uppercase first letter entered of the input. And so that way, they'll understand that even if they entered something else in, like modern, they'll see that as motivation. All right, I'll show the code here again. So first have main captured there. Main goes down to there. And then I'll scroll down and get the other two methods so you can, if you want to pause and need to adjust, you can. There's main. And here's display menu and get input, the other two functions we're using. And then I'll pause back up, and there's main again.